Are you tired of your living room turning into an absolute war zone every time you ask your kid to turn off the iPad?
Oh, the dreaded screen time tantrum. It really is the modern parenting dilemma, isn't it?
Welcome to the Rising Parent Podcast. I'm Tim.
And I'm Edna.
Today's episode is Ending the Screen Time Battle: Healthy Digital Boundaries for Kids. We're going to talk about setting realistic limits without outright banning technology.
Exactly, because tech isn't going anywhere, so we need solutions that actually work for your family. Let's dive in and get your sanity back.
All right, before we jump into the deep end of the digital pool with this one, and man, it is a deep pool, just a quick transparent reminder, we do use affiliate links in our show notes. If you hear us mention a product today, we might earn a small commission if you buy through our links, but it's always stuff we genuinely recommend in our coaching sessions.
Right, exactly. And, we need to talk about this topic, Tim. I swear in almost every single coaching session we've done recently, screens come up.
Oh, 100%. It's the number one behavioral trigger we hear about. Parents come to us exhausted, just totally depleted from the negotiations. Just 5 more minutes, Mom. And then 5 minutes turns into an hour, and when you finally pull the plug, it's a full-blown meltdown.
And, I always tell parents, especially the ones I work with during those early sleep-deprived months of parenthood, we totally get it. Sometimes you just need to put on a cartoon so you can take a shower or drink a cup of coffee while it's actually still hot.
Right. We are not here to shame anyone for using screens.
Exactly. No shame here. But as kids transition into those school-aged and preteen years, the dynamic really shifts. It becomes less about, surviving the afternoon and more about navigating an actual dependency on digital dopamine.
Yeah, that dopamine hit is real. And I think the first major mindset shift we try to help families make in our coaching is this: screen time needs to be viewed as a tool, not a reward.
Oh, that is so huge. Say more about that.
Well, think about how we usually leverage screens. We say things like, if you finish your broccoli, you can have your tablet. Or, if you clean your room, you get 30 minutes of video games.
Right, which makes total logical sense to us as adults. We're just using leverage.
Exactly. But, and I see this all the time when we work with families on behavioral challenges, when we use screens as the ultimate prize, we inadvertently put them on a pedestal. We communicate to the child that the screen is the most valuable, most highly desired thing in the house. It makes the real world seem boring by comparison.
Wow, yeah. I remember back when we worked with kids at the daycare, we noticed this shift happening when tablets first started becoming really popular. We had kids coming in who were just completely disinterested in the blocks or the paints. They just wanted to know when they could look at a screen. And in the daycare setting, we had to be incredibly intentional about how we structured the day so that technology, if it was used at all, was just another station. It wasn't the best station, it was just a tool.
Yes, like we used it for a specific educational purpose and then it was put away. And speaking of putting it away, transitions are where the tantrums happen, right? It's usually not the screen time itself that's the problem, it's the ending of the screen time.
Oh, absolutely. The dreaded transition.
So, one of the things I recommend constantly to our coaching clients is making time visible. Kids, especially younger ones, do not have the same concept of time that we do. Telling an 8-year-old they have 10 minutes left means nothing to them. 10 minutes could be a lifetime or a millisecond, depending on what they're doing.
They are totally time blind.
Right, so we highly recommend a visual timer. One of our favorites is the Time Timer Home Edition. It's this fantastic little clock with a red disc that slowly disappears as time elapses. It completely removes the parent from being the bad guy.
Yes, I love the Time Timer Home Edition because you aren't the one saying time's up. The clock says time's up. It shifts the boundary from you, the parent, to this neutral, objective object.
Exactly. I had a family we worked with recently, let's call them the Miller family for privacy reasons, and they were dealing with epic door-slamming tantrums over their 9-year-old every evening over turning off his video games. I mean, it was ruining their nights. The parents were stressed, the kid was angry, it was a mess.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's so stressful.
It really was. And the parents were at their wits' end, so their instinct was just to ban the console entirely. That's it, no more video games in this house.
Oh, boy, how did that go?
Not well. It turned the house into an absolute war zone. The 9-year-old felt completely alienated, and he actually started sneaking his tablet under his covers at night. Banning it just created sneaky behavior.
Which is exactly what happens. Outright bans rarely work in the modern world because tech is everywhere. If they don't get it at home, they'll look over their friend's shoulder on the bus or they'll sneak it. We have to teach them how to moderate, not just how to abstain.
Right. So with the Millers, again, that's a pseudonym for privacy reasons, we rolled back the ban. Instead, we introduced the Time Timer Home Edition, and we had the parents set it with him. They'd say, okay, we have 30 minutes of gaming time. He sets the red dial himself. When it beeps, the console goes off. The first few days, there was still some pushback.
Naturally, they have to test the new boundary.
Exactly, but within a week, the tantrums stopped. The visual cue gave his brain time to process the transition. It was a game changer for them.
That is such a great strategy. And you know, Tim, before we get into the next big piece of this, which is crafting a digital family constitution, let's take a quick second.
Oh yeah, perfect timing. Let's do it.
For all our listeners out there, just a quick reminder that new episodes of the Rising Parent podcast are released every Monday and Friday. We absolutely love showing up for you guys twice a week.
We really do. And we created this podcast not just to help families navigate these tricky parenting waters, but also to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach.
Yes, if you found value in this episode or any of our episodes, please consider donating to Selfless Outreach by going to selflessoutreach.org and hitting the donate button.
Every single donation helps Selfless Outreach serve the underserved in our communities. It means the world to us. And don't worry, a link to Selfless Outreach will be provided in the show notes so you can easily find it.
Absolutely. All right, so let's get back into it. You mentioned a digital family constitution. I love this concept so much.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to implement when we work with families. What is your take on it, Edna? How do you usually explain it in your sessions?
Well, so often parents make rules at their kids. Here is the rule, follow it. But when you're dealing with school-age kids and preteens, they are developing a strong sense of autonomy and justice. If a rule feels arbitrary, they will fight it tooth and nail.
Oh yeah, it's not fair is the anthem of the preteen years.
Exactly. So a digital family constitution is a living document that you sit down and create together as a family. You grab a big piece of poster board, some markers, and you hold a family meeting. The key here is that the parents are bound by the constitution too.
Yes, that is the kicker. If the rule is no phones at the dinner table, mom and dad can't be checking work emails over spaghetti.
Right. Kids have built-in hypocrisy detectors. If you break the rule, the Constitution is void in their eyes. So in this meeting, you ask the kids, what do you think is a fair amount of time for screens? You'd be surprised. Sometimes they suggest limits that are stricter than what you would have said.
That's so true. I was doing a coaching session recently with a family. Let's call the son Leo for privacy reasons. Leo was 10, highly intelligent but incredibly stubborn about his YouTube time. When the parents tried to force limits, he dug his heels in. But when they sat down to write their constitution, the dad said, "Leo, how much time do you think is healthy for your brain to be staring at a screen?" And Leo actually said, "Probably not more than an hour after school." The parents were shocked.
Wow. See? When you give them a voice, they often step up.
They do. So they wrote it down. Rule 1, 1 hour of YouTube after homework tracked by the visual timer. Rule 2, all devices go to sleep in the kitchen charging station at 8 p.m. And they all signed it. The parents signed it, Leo signed it, they hung it on the fridge. And the beautiful thing is, when Leo pushed back a week later, the parents didn't have to yell. They just tapped the fridge and said, "Hey man, we're just following the Constitution you signed."
It completely neutralizes the conflict. You're no longer the dictator, you're just the enforcer of the agreed-upon laws. It's brilliant. And part of that constitution should also be establishing tech-free zones and tech-free times.
Definitely. Bedrooms and dining tables are usually the big ones.
Right. And another thing I love to encourage families to put in their constitution is a dedicated screen-free family night. But here's the trick. You can't just take away the screens and leave a void. You have to replace it with something high connection and high engagement. Otherwise, you're just going to hear, "I'm bored" for 3 hours.
The dreaded B word, boredom.
Yep. So you need an arsenal of alternatives to screens that kids actually want to do, and not just, go read a book. Sometimes you need something interactive. One of our go-to recommendations for a family game night is the Melissa and Doug Suspend family game.
Oh, I love that one.
It's so good. For anyone who hasn't played it, the Melissa and Doug Suspend family game is this balancing game with these wire pieces. It requires focus, fine motor skills, and it gets incredibly tense and funny as the structure gets more wobbly.
It's like Jenga on steroids.
Exactly. And the reason I suggest this specific game in our coaching is that it spans such a wide age range. You can play it with a 6-year-old and a 14-year-old, and both will actually be engaged. It's physical, it's tactile, and it naturally creates laughter and eye contact, which are the exact opposites of the isolating effects of a tablet.
That is such a good point. Eye contact. When kids are on screens, they're hunched over, isolated in their own little digital bubble. Games like that pull them out of the bubble and force them to interact with the people in the room.
Yeah, and I remember back when we had the daycare, we used to do these big collaborative floor puzzles or building challenges. The kids would initially ask for a movie, but once we laid out the physical materials and got down on the floor with them, they completely forgot about the screen. Your presence is the magic ingredient.
That's a really crucial takeaway right there. When we ask our kids to put the screens away, we can't just send them to their rooms to figure it out by themselves, especially in the beginning of setting these boundaries. We have to be willing to engage with them. We have to be the alternative.
You have to bridge the gap, at least until they build up their own independent play muscles again, because screens really do atrophy that independent, imaginative play muscle.
They really do. Everything is fed to them so quickly. The pacing of YouTube videos or TikToks is just frantic. Real life moves much slower. So when they complain about being bored, what they're really saying is, my brain is withdrawing from the fast-paced digital stimulation, and I don't know how to entertain myself at this slower speed.
That is such an insightful way to frame it, Tim. Boredom isn't a problem for parents to solve. It's a feeling kids need to learn to tolerate. But we can provide the right environment for them to rediscover their curiosity.
Exactly. And that leads perfectly into another alternative that we love recommending when we work with families. If you have a kid who is just endlessly watching, slime videos or video game streamers, you can pivot that interest into the physical world with something like the National Geographic Earth Science Kit.
Oh, wow. Yes, the science kits.
They are phenomenal. I had a coaching family, let's call them the Johnsons for privacy reasons. They had an 8-year-old daughter who was obsessed with watching these messy science experiment videos on YouTube, but she would watch them for hours and never actually do anything.
Right, just passively consuming it.
Exactly. So we suggested putting a boundary on the YouTube time and replacing it with the National Geographic Earth Science Kit. This thing is amazing. It has like 15 different experiments. You grow crystals, you erupt a volcano, you can dig out geological specimens.
Oh, kids go crazy for the volcano eruption.
They really do. And the mom told me that the first Saturday they tried this, the daughter was a little grumpy at first. Why can't I just watch the video? But once they got the kit open and she actually had her hands in the plaster and she was watching a real chemical reaction happen on her kitchen table, she was hooked. They spent 2 hours doing experiments, laughing, making a mess.
I love that.
And that's the secret, right? You have to give them sensory-rich, tactile experiences to replace the flat, two-dimensional screen. The screen is easy. The physical world requires effort, but the payoff in terms of connection and brain development is massive.
Absolutely massive. And I think it's important to remind parents right now, if you are in the thick of it and you're thinking, my kids are going to absolutely revolt if I try to implement a visual timer or a constitution, they probably will at first.
Oh, count on it. There will be an extinction burst.
Yes, the behavior often gets worse before it gets better. They're going to push the boundary to see if it's made of concrete or if it's made of Jell-O. If you cave on day 2 because the whining is too much, you've just taught them that whining works. You have to hold the line with empathy.
Hold the line with empathy. I love that. You can validate their feelings without changing your boundary. I know you're really frustrated that your game time is over. It's hard to stop doing something fun. The visual timer beeped, so the console is going off. Do you want to play a board game with me, or do you want to go read in your room?
Beautiful. You're offering a choice, you're staying calm, and you're not getting pulled into the emotional storm.
It takes practice for sure, but the peace it brings to your household is so worth it. No more war zones, just clear, predictable boundaries.
So to kind of summarize our key takeaways for today, number 1, shift your mindset. Treat screen time as a tool or just an activity rather than the ultimate reward for good behavior.
Number 2, make time visible. Use tools like the Time Timer Home Edition to handle the transitions so you aren't the bad guy pulling the plug.
Number 3, collaborate on a digital family constitution. Get your kids involved in setting the rules. Write them down, have everyone sign it, and post it where everyone can see it. And remember, parents, you have to follow it too.
Yep, put the phone down during dinner. And finally, number 4, provide high-value, hands-on alternatives. When you carve out tech-free time, replace it with engaging things like the Melissa and Doug Suspend Family Game or the National Geographic Earth Science Kit to help them rediscover the joy of the physical world.
I feel like this is such an empowering approach, Tim. It moves us away from fear and constant restriction and into a space of teaching our kids lifelong digital wellness.
Exactly. It's not about being anti-tech, it's about being pro-connection.
Beautifully said. Well, we are just about out of time for today's episode.
We really hope this gave you guys some practical tools to end the screen time battle in your own homes. If you enjoyed this episode, please do us a huge favor and subscribe to the Rising Parent Podcast.
Yes, and if you have a minute, leaving us a 5-star review really helps other parents find the show. You can also visit our show notes where we'll have links to the products we mentioned today.
And remember, new episodes of the Rising Parent Podcast are released every Monday and Friday. We can't wait to connect with you again later this week.
Also, as we mentioned earlier, we created this podcast to help families and to raise funding for our nonprofit mobile food bank, Selfless Outreach.
If you found value in this episode today, please consider donating to Selfless Outreach by going to selflessoutreach.org and hitting the donate button.
Every single donation helps Selfless Outreach serve the underserved. It means so much to us, and a link to Selfless Outreach will be provided right there in the show notes for you.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us today, guys. Parenting is a learned skill, and you are doing a great job. We'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.